Hello everyone, Matt from Model Minutes here, and welcome back to the workbench for another unboxing. Today I'm going a little bit back in time and taking a look at this. The Frog de Havilland Sea Venom in 1/72 scale. So join me as I get stuck inside, well, it's a bag of this kit today, and see what this product was like. So as we can probably tell, this is a bit of a vintage unboxing today, and I'm pretty sure that this is mint in sort of bag. So I'll just have a quick look at the header card up here. We have Frog 1/72 scale kit, contains 46 parts, and we've got this image of the Venom flying over an aircraft carrier. I do question the accuracy here. I don't think that they had reheat, so maybe that's a little bit of artistic license, but I think that's the paint scheme that's included. Down here you can see we've got all of our bits in the bag, and our decals are pointing out. There doesn't seem to be any tears or anything in the bag. Obviously it's a little bit worn, a little bit tatty, but it appears to be intact. Flipping over to the other side, you can see that we've got our painting guides, and there are two paint schemes included. We've got one for HMS Art Royal in 1955, and then we've got an Australian one from 1962. Personally, I think the Australian one might be slightly more visually interesting because it's got the sort of wingtip fuel tanks with these lightning bolts on them. We have some information about the kit saying that it has 46 parts. You can put your undercarriage up or down. There are rockets if you want to install them. And we've got two paint schemes. And it tells us over here that it was made in Great Britain by Rovex Limited. So looking at the staples, like they look like they're in the original holes, or at the very least the holes have just moved down slightly, but you can see like where the punch is up here for putting it on like a hanger, that hasn't actually been punched out. I think that this has not actually been opened, but I'm going to open it. So let's try and do this as carefully as possible. I wonder if this is just a little bit of like damage where it's been against another kit somewhere, but let's see if I can get this open without destroying it. There we go. So staples are off. I probably won't restaple it because my intention is to build this, so I probably won't bother restapling it. Well, I think there's an item code here of F253. Let's open that up. You can see on the inside we do have our assembly instructions. Okay, so it has been opened. This has been opened. You can see down here. It has a name, Teddington or something like that, and it had a date, 10th of the 6th, 1974. So I wonder if that's the person who originally owned it. If there was someone who owned it originally, it appears that they managed to put the staples in like straight away. Or actually, maybe is that the person who checked it when they were putting it in the factory? Maybe, I don't know. I mean, 1974 perhaps might be the packing date. But yeah, instructions then. We've got some information up here telling us you know, what to do if you see a different symbol, and the assembly stages are quite simple. There's only 6 of them. We have our cockpit floor, and we insert our pilots in their seats. These are the wheels. Don't glue it on, apparently. Press fit perhaps, and should freely rotate. We can install our pilot, etc. It does say to add weight in here to prevent it from tail sitting. A display stand is included. So actually, if a display stand is included, I'm probably going to do it in a flying pose. Wings get attached, engine exhaust, canopy, rocket rails, tail surfaces. Repeat it on both sides. Landing gear, if that's what you're going to do, or you can put your landing gear covers over the holes. There is an arrestor hook. Yeah, so relatively simple, straightforward build by the looks of it. So those are the instructions. I do like that they come in colour on this side because that just helps make it a little bit easier to understand. And now we have our bag of bits. So let's have a look at the decals first. Oh, what's this? So there is a note here. Paint and apply decals to underside of wings before fitting armament. So they have maybe realized that there is a step which needs an alteration, and that maybe that's why the bag was opened at some point, is to put in a note to say at stage 5 don't put them on until you've done your painting, because otherwise they're going to get in the way, aren't they? You're not going to get your decals on. Speaking of the decals, let's take a quick look at these, and for the most part they look usable. The printing is relatively quite nice. The registration is fairly decent. There's nothing on the back. They don't feel thick. They don't seem to have teared or anything. However, the only thing I probably would point out is that the decal film doesn't look like it's as central as it could be. So like the roundels, as an example, the edges of the roundels don't appear to have decal film on them, which may mean that when I use these, the edge of the decal isn't on the decal film and it gets left behind. So that is a slight concern, but I hope that it doesn't cause a problem. But yeah, they look okay. They look usable. They don't look like they've yellowed, or if they have yellowed, it's ever so slightly. So yeah, I'm probably going to just use these and see how they fare. That brings us on to the parts. So we have one clear part. This is our cockpit canopy. It appears to be molded to a moderately nice quality. There's not much in the way of flash. There are framework. Framework looks like it's reasonably easy to follow. It's relatively proud in some places, but not in all places. So I think I'll be able to mask that using a my normal method of tape and cutting around it, but I probably will have to just take a bit of care to get that right. Maybe a tiny little bit of flash in a few places, but yeah, for the most part that doesn't look too bad. Then we have our plastic parts. We have one loose part, which is our display stand, which I think comes from this sprue. Yep, must have come from there. So 1, 2, 3, let me frame, 3, 4. We have 4 sprues of dark grey plastic, but everything is a little bit spread out. There's a little bit of space in a few places, but that doesn't look too bad. So let's start with this sprue first. As you can see, we've got our display stand here, which will need a little bit of cleaning up from where the sprues have been attached. And then we have the arm for our display stand, and we also have our upper wing surfaces. So there is a little bit of recessed detail where the ailerons are. There is a bit of flash in a few little places which will need a bit of cleaning up, but for the most part we've got raised panel lines, which would be expected for a product of this era. On the other side here, nothing in the way of detail like internally. Ejector pins are on this side, so hopefully not visible in the finished build. On the next sprue we have a fuselage half. Again, we've got raised panel lines, a little bit of cleaning up required in a few places. Plastic doesn't feel particularly greasy. It does feel quite dense though. I wonder if I were to wiggle this too much I would actually snap it. It feels a little bit brittle. Tail boom here, again, same kind of deal. Maybe a little bit of cleaning up in a few little places. 2 halves that need to go together. Here we have our pilot seats with a big ejector pin mark on them, but if you're using your pilots, they're going to be hidden. Pilots have seams down the edges and also a big ejector pin mark there. Same with these parts here. Pilot figures look usable, don't they? I've seen worse. They're not amazing. We've got some sink marks in the center there. A little bit of cleaning up, I think, but they'll be usable. And then our wheels here. I probably won't be using the wheels. I'll be going for a raised option to display it in flight because you have a display stand, but they're molded to a reasonable quality. This sprue then has our other fuselage half and the other tail surfaces, again molded to the same kind of quality with raised details. Internally on these parts there's no cockpit detail, so it's quite simple, but I doubt you'll be able to see a great deal through the canopy when you've completed it. Rockets look quite nice though. They come on their rails already and you just need to attach them. They're molded quite crisply, and then this is our arrestor hook here, which again doesn't look too bad. More undercarriage components. They're okay, but there are big ejector pin marks on these sides, so hopefully those are the surfaces which aren't going to be seen. A little bit of tidying up might be needed. And then onto the final sprue, which has our lower wing surfaces. Again, same kind of deal. A little bit of raised detail, a few little ejector pin marks. We do have the holes for our rockets. They are molded in. So if you weren't going to install them, you'd have to fill those and sand it. So I think I'm going to just include the rockets. Even if it wasn't historically accurate for the version I want to do, I'm probably just going to install them. Nose cone here, under the nose where the 4 20mm cannons are, and the gear bay there. Smaller details, tail wheel, or nose wheel rather, nose wheel. What are these for? Are these more rails for our rockets? Possibly. And then we have our tail surface. Same kind of deal. Any ejector pin marks there? No. Ejector pin marks are generally fairly hidden by the looks of it, but there might be a few that need tidying up. Just going to investigate these little rails here. 29 and so on. Oh, it looks like they're like clean rails. So if you're not installing the rockets, you can install these other rails instead, and they'll just sit there without the rockets on them. But you know, the rockets look more fun, don't they? In the sense of visual interest for the aircraft. So I would probably just install them anyway. Cool. So that is pretty much it. Let's wrap this one up. We had 4 dark grey plastic sprues, very much a product of their time. It appears that I have every single part that I need, so the kit is complete, more or less in a almost like out of the factory condition. Details a little bit crude, a little bit simple, but you know, product of its time and all that. We had 1 clear part, which again is molded to a moderate quality, which should be relatively easy to mask up if you take a little bit of time. We had 1 sheet of decals, which although still look usable, I do question if the decal film extends all the way to the edges of some of them, which means that some of the printing may not come off on the decal when we apply it to the kit, but they look like they should be usable, so I'm hoping that they are. We had 1 little update note about our assembly stages, and then we had our cardboard header, which has a lovely image here of the aircraft in flight, full colour painting instructions on the other side, which is always great to see, and the assembly stages look to be relatively straightforward and easy to follow. So as mentioned, I'm probably going to do mine in the Australian version. I'm going to use the decals from the kit to see how they fare, and I'm going to install the rockets in a flying pose because it comes with a display stand. So this has got some really great value. Lowered undercarriage if you prefer. It's got crew figures, it's got display stands, it's got all those little elements that we like to see. Of course, though, it is a product of its time. I have a feeling this is sort of semi-mint condition. It did look like it had been opened. We had a date here of 1974, so I don't know if that's a previous owner or if that's someone who had added like this little update and then resealed it. So not sure what the ins and outs of it are there. But as far as I can tell from a little bit of research, the tooling dates from 1973. I am under the impression that after 1973, so the first release supposedly came in the cardboard header with the plastic bag, which is what would indicate to me that this is potentially the first release or the first run. After 1974, it would appear they were actually released in boxes, and then after Frog effectively ceased to be and all the toolings were sold on, it then entered the Novo range from 1979. There were a lot of different releases of this, even up into the more modern era, by loads of different companies, but I'm not going to dig into that because it's absolutely... if you go on Scalemates and have a look, you'll see that it just carries on like forever with loads of different company after company after company. It's almost like the tooling's been just handed around to loads of different smaller companies for release at that point. But yeah, it looks like the version I've got here is a 1973-1974 production. Of course, I can't really talk about the price, the RRP at the time, because it was quite a long time ago now. It wouldn't be fair to compare it against modern standards. It is a product of its time, but I did pay, if I remember correctly, £5 for this. I was at a model show a little while ago, and there were 2. It was like a buy 2 for a tenner kind of deal. So I bought 2. I've got, I think it's a Sea Fury as well, but that one doesn't look mint in bagged. I think that one might be missing parts, but this one does look to be mint. So a £5 for this, actually, I'm pretty happy. Hopefully it builds up pretty well, and it should make an interesting project. Of course, if you can find a more modern reproduction for a similar or suitable price, that probably would be worth it. But given the level of detail we've seen here, if there is a modern reproduction out there, I would certainly be questioning, given the age of the kit, the value that it might hold to you. And with that, I'm probably going to wrap this one up here. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of my unboxing and if my assessment of this kit was fair. Don't forget that we do have a Model Minutes Model Club, and if you'd like to join the Model Club and get exclusive access to early videos and other perks, check out the links in the description. Massive thanks to these Model Club members for the extra support they give the channel, allowing me to create consistent content. There are other ways to help support the channel if you'd prefer, and again, full information is below the video. But the best way to support the channel for free is by subscribing with notifications turned on so you never miss a modelling upload. Finally though, last thing to say is a massive thank you to you for watching this one, and I'll see you on the workbench again next time.